Hey, how's it going, boys? This week on Monday, I learned that I have a presentation due on Thursday, which gives me exactly 3 days to do it, and so this should be really interesting. See what I can throw together, and hopefully it'll be good and entertaining for everybody involved. And yeah, what's my presentation on, you ask? Well, it's on ants.
Black
Red
ants,
ants,
red and black ants,
big
fucking
ants,
ants that
fire
build bridges out of themselves,
ants that eat
golden
spiders, and
ants that
other ants that eat
plants.
dead ants, and that's right. Be excited, ants, ants. Now, I believe the first thing to do when studying any sort of population is to do some good old participant observation. So we're gonna go to outside Ethan right now. Hi, my name's Ethan Osborne, and today we're gonna be filming ants. My search for ants took me all across campus. I searched bushes, grasses, and all sorts of vegetation. I even clambered up trees and gave out a few calls to see if any ants would respond. But it was while scouring next to the pavement that I finally found my anthill. So ants are really fascinating because they're when they dig their burrows, they actually aerate the ground, and they're like little farmers. So they kind of like till the soil up and make it easier for plants to grow in it. They also, when they search for food, they forage and they find seeds, and they'll displace seeds and they'll bring seeds down their hole, and any seeds that they don't use will end up growing into new plants. And ants also cultivate. So some ants will have they'll protect aphids and keep them as like cattle, because aphids produce honeydew, which ants eat. So these little ants will take aphids down their hole, and they'll protect them from predators like ladybugs, and feed them and collect their honeydew, kind of like we feed cows and collect cow's milk. So there's a couple different types of ants. There's male and female. And the majority of ants are female. So the queen, the workers, and the soldier ants are all female. And then the males, the females, or the queen will lay a certain batch of eggs that will be female queens and males that will go off and mate. And the male's sole purpose is to mate, and then they die. The only difference between the different females are the workers have a more slender body. They usually go out and forage and get food. The soldier ants are their job is to protect the nest from predators, and also to fight other colonies if they invade their space. They'll also go out hunting, and they'll kill things if the ants are meat eaters. And there's over 120 different species of ants that we've discovered, and I suspect that there's probably more. So different species have different diets. Some are more carnivorous, they eat other insects. Others are cultivators. They collect honeydew from aphids and other things. Leafcutter ants, even though they cut leaves, they don't actually eat the leaves. They take the leaves back to their nest, and they grow a fungus, and then they eat that fungus. I see a little ant right here who's carrying some type of insect. I think it might be a gnat or a mosquito, but he's bringing that back to his nest. And these little guys are really cool. They leave, when they go places, they leave little pheromone trails, so they can tell where they've been and lead their colony mates to food. There's a big ant over there. So ant colonies can have multiple queens. So they can have more than one queen that lays eggs for them. If all their queens die though, then the colony will die. So ants don't have lungs. They don't breathe like you or me. They actually have holes in their body where they take in oxygen, and then they let out carbon dioxide through these holes. Ants don't have ears either. They actually hear through vibrations in the ground. So every time that I move, they can probably hear me.
So the different ants that I described earlier have different lifespans. Males only live for a few days, mating and then dying. Workers live for a few weeks to several months. And then queen ants live the longest, and they can live for several years. The more established queens have the potential to live up to, I think there's been recorded 30 years, but oftentimes in the wild they don't reach that due to like disease and predators and natural disasters and things like that. In the anatomy of ants, they have three parts: a head, thorax, and abdomen. Their exterior is an exoskeleton made of chitin that's waterproof. And underneath, they have a clear liquid that is equivalent to like our blood, and then they have what I would call a heart in their head that pumps this clear liquid from the top of their head to the bottom of their abdomen. The life cycle of an ant starts as an egg, then transitions to a larva, and then a pupa, and then from the pupa, it develops into one of the types that we talked about earlier, that being male, female, worker, soldier. Now for this next bit, I'm going to take you even further down the anthole. This is Grounded, a survival game where you're shrunk down to the size of, well, an ant. This game actually has somewhat of an ecosystem, so I'm going to use it for some visual aid while I talk about ants. Ooh, a ladybug. Ooh. And a spider too. Hi, ladybug. No. Oh my god. Chill. Chill, big spider. Chill. Now, while I'm inclined to believe this spider made an exception in eating a small defenseless pink human like me, it would have happily eaten an ant too. Ants can fall prey to many different species, such as frogs, lizards, flies, spiders, birds, and even some large mammals such as bears. While ants do sometimes eat spiders and other large insects, most of the time what falls underneath them in the food chain are grubs, worms, and other herbivorous insects that destroy plants. This worker ant is taking food back to its nest, where it will care for and feed the larva and pupa ants. I'm going to follow him. This soldier ant is doing his duty in protecting his nest from foreign invaders. Okay, I will leave. Some insects, such as aphid and scale insects, benefit from what's called mutualism with ants, meaning they both benefit and prosper from a relationship between the two of them. Such as ants get honeydew from aphids and scale insects, and the scale insects and aphids get protection from the ants. So what if ants suddenly went extinct? Well, considering that ants are one of the most diverse species, sitting at approximately about 120,000 that we've just discovered, I think it's safe to say that if they were extinct, most life on Earth would be extinct, considering that they are more likely to survive than other species. But what if they did? What if one day you woke up and there were no more ants on the planet Earth? Plants would die. There would be nothing left to eat the grubs and worms that prey upon the plants. There would be nobody left to till and aerate the soil and disperse nutrients. There would be no more protection for species such as aphids, potentially leading to them and other species like them going extinct. And every species above them in the food chain would die out. So what can we do ethically for the social justice of nature? Well, for one, we can practice the stewardship of creation, which is just a fancy Christian term for saying that we need to preserve the land, air, and water that help all living things be. We can recognize that we're part of a community that branches further than just our own humanity, a community that's larger and includes the plants and the trees and the insects. We also need to recognize that whether we want to or not, we're participants in this community in harmful and beneficial ways. For instance, if you're spraying pesticide and weed killer in your backyard, you're participating in a community, but it's in a negative effect. and you're potentially killing off ants and other things that are natural pesticides and harming the ecosystem. So this concludes my video on ants. I'd like to give a special thanks to Bailey for helping out with the outside portion of filming this. I'll leave links to her social media down below. And yeah, thank you all for watching.